I'm Chris Messina. I'm the developer experience lead at Uber.
Wonderful. Now you talked a little bit about mobile. You talked a little bit about maybe post-mobile and where mobile's going, messaging, bots, AI. Can you talk a little bit about that? Where do you see that happening? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, I would say that it's post-mobile. I would say that like what mobile does is sort of invites the question of how are people actually bringing computing and the internet into their lives, and mobile sort of suggests that you can be sort of connected everywhere you go. And the behaviors that sort of led to desktop computing or sort of inspired, the idea of you sit at a desk and you sort of like use a mouse and a keyboard or whatever, inspired and led to sort of like the first gen sort of mobile OSs. In other words, like iOS took the concept of the desktop, sort of shrunk it down, put it behind a piece of glass that you could touch, and has sort of been moving in that direction, since, sort of building out the logical conclusion, I guess, of that framework for understanding things. But mobile native, I think, is a lot more about thinking about the way that people sort of interact in continuous partial attention, I guess,
Yes.
or providing continuous partial attention. In other words, and so to that point, what I'm seeing and what I'm noticing is that conversations become a really good framework for understanding how people think about and approach relationships.
Right.
And so these apps right now sort of represent relationships, but it's very much about, I guess, pushing forward the model of asking the user to lean into the computer as opposed to
Yes.
the computer leaning towards the user.
Yes.
And to make that more clear, when I'm on the go and I'm trying to make decisions and I'm trying to do things and I have a million things on my mind and a million things going on and I'm getting into an Uber or I'm getting into BART, I'm traveling someplace,
Yes.
or I'm talking to someone else, I need to be able to dip in and dip out.
Yeah.
And apps are really designed for, I think, focused moments.
Right.
So one of the challenges and questions of building apps today is really relating to what the user has available in terms of their headspace, their available headspace,
Yes.
and their focus time.
Yes.
So conversation is a great model. It's a great paradigm for understanding the way that people actually interact with their friends and have
Yes.
relationships that way. And I think app makers, brands, assistants, bots, AI can utilize that framework of threads as a way of having that continuous state that persists between unlocking your device and locking it and going between
Not
different
just
platforms.
about being in the app and being out
Yeah.
of the app. It's continuous throughout.
Yeah, and there's a lot of conversation actually here at Mobile Summit about apps and app installs and getting users to click and actually going beyond the click and beyond, or the tap rather,
Yes.
beyond the tap, beyond the install, to then, well, what does the user do after they've done that?
Yes.
And what I find so sort of challenging about that question is that it takes so much momentum to overcome the inertia of the initial app install.
Yes.
And I may either live in the future or be an outlier or both, but like I install so many apps that I never return to because the moment of intent, when I have a desire to do something, relative to the moment that the app is finished installing to the moment that I want to go do the thing, is I've already moved on.
Yes.
You've lost that microsecond.
Yes.
So conversations, on the other hand, are so easy and fast. I hop in, I sort of triangulate to the person or thing or service or bot that I want to interact with, and I send the message off. And even if the bot doesn't respond right away, I know that it's off sort of processing it. Or if my friend doesn't respond right away,
Right.
maybe they're busy or whatever it is, they can get back to me in a time that makes sense.
And that's very interesting when you think about the platforms that have
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's so much more we could talk about. I can't take too much more of your time. I
Sure.
said it would be a minute, so it's all great stuff.
Totally.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks a lot.